Hey everybody, Gurmy's Coastal Yard here, back with another episode of Germanator Gardens, where in our last episode we constructed this classic style wooden roller coaster here, right along our front entrance. And you can see it's going along nice and everything now. But the two things I want to accomplish in this episode, or the primary thing, is building out our entrance area and the midway. And I also want to get some rides in. So we'll start. We have our entrance here. We can do some foliage maybe along here. I know I've been putting that one off for a while. And then just kind of working through this area. So we extended our lift hill, which means this path offshooting can no longer properly go to the entrance because it would have to go underneath the structure. So we are just going to do that a little bit differently. So we'll start by deleting it. And we'll still leave this little area right over here, but let's bring our pathway down a little bit. And we'll just put in our little separator here. In fact, this area is going to have so much foot traffic. Let's just make it a little easier for ourselves and fill that all in. And then we'll start our planter right here. And normally, this is kind of how I would start my Roller Coaster Tycoon worlds, but I just had an off-the-cuff idea that I think might be interesting. Let's do something a little similar to King's Island. Let's have a nice sort of lake right in here. Nothing huge. I think probably 3 wide will be sufficient for it. We can have the pathway going on either side, and I think that'll be pretty nifty. So because it's going to be 3 wide, let's just go in square units, and let's keep it in 3s. So we'll have 3 squares of 3 by 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like so. And then, oops, that will delineate the size of our square. And then we'll put our lake, our little pond right in there. And then we'll probably put a ride in right over here. But this will be a nice way to greet guests. And let's just make this a little bit wider too, just so there's plenty of room for them. Like so. Alright, and in fact, well, I was going to say, oh, we're nice and lined up to go down this way for midway, and we could, but I think I want to build this midway out from here once we have sort of our central hub area complete. So let's start by setting aside space for a carousel. I think a carousel is a great ride to have right by your entrance. And now the carousel is 3 by 3 as well, but we also want to make sure we leave space for a queue. I think I want the queue to go behind the carousel, just so we don't have the front of it funky. Actually, let's just place it in and sort of go from there. So that'll be in our gentle rides. Where is it? Unless it's not. No. Junior rides. My bad. It is a kind of gentle ride though. Let's place it 1 back, and we can place our entrance right on this tile. I think that'll work. And, exit there, entrance on the back side. And we'll just leave a little space for a queue here. And we could leave it at that, but it looks kind of square, and squares have their place in amusement parks, but this is also kind of going to be the first mini hub, if you will. A hub, basically, in an amusement park is like the center of the park. And they're usually circular. So think like Cinderella Castle at Disney World. It's the castle, and then you sort of have this pathway that circles it. Or even the hub might actually be right out front of the castle, but it's a big circle, and all of the sections of the park branch off from there. It's the point I'm trying to get to. So let's do something nice and circular here, or as circular as we can get within the game. So we'll have room for planters around this front end of the merry-go-round. And we'll build this out a little bit as well. And yeah, something along these lines. I don't know if we're going to have a path going this way. I presume we will. I know our water park is going to be somewhere in that direction too, so got to remember that. But I think this should just about do it. Something like that. Yeah, we'll figure it out as we go. And now that I'm looking at these paths, I'm wondering if this path would be better. That'll definitely be a big project for a time lapse or something, replacing paths. But to start, we'll keep it on our irregular paving here. And then let's get ahead and get started on our planters. So we'll just grab our small hedge like normal and build it around here. And because the merry-go-round is sort of the centerpiece here of this attraction, or of the little hub, I don't want to have any big trees or anything surrounding it. We're just going to keep to bushes and flowers. I think let's do 2 bushes here, and we'll just get a large flower bed. And if we're lucky, actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's do roses. Let's get rid of the bushes. And we'll do roses on this close edge, but I want that to be red. And then we'll do the small flower bed on that outside edge. I think this will work. And yeah. So let's get our small flowers. And perfect. And you can see we changed the flowers, the colors, a couple episodes ago for our gardens out front. And you can see that color has saved onto the flowers, so they look nice. Anyhow, I think that is a decent start for the carousel. And usually, depending on how the flower beds look, I may leave like this outside edge of the carousel. I'm not putting any hedges along here. Right where it exits, I think I am going to put them just because that's right up against this little path here. So I think that'll make it look nice and neat. And then the final thing we'll want to do under this path over here, let's just get a terrain painter and get that irregular paving and go underneath each of these edges just to get rid of that sort of grassy seam. And we can even go along the edges here of the flower bed just to bring that texture right up underneath the hedges. And then we'll come along with dirt and go underneath each of the hedges themselves. Just like so. And then let's make sure we have the irregular paving underneath the merry-go-round itself. And then, building off of that, we want to make our merry-go-round look nice. We can test it as well. So we'll come over here and change the colors of the ride. And I always try to choose colors that look nice. I think red and white for the stripes look good. And we can try yellow. Not a big fan of yellow on this texture. Maybe a light blue. I think that'll work. And then let's go white for that stripe. In fact, let's make this blue just a touch darker. And I think that looks alright. Maybe we can go slightly darker with the red. I'm not the biggest fan of the colors on the carousel to begin with, but I think that'll work. And zooming out, you can see we have this nice little centerpiece. So let's move on and work on our little thing here, our little pond. So if we come down here to our terrain editor and select the adjust terrain tiles, and then we can get this one in the lower right and bring it up to a size 3. And let's sink these down twice. So I guess that would be like 2/3 height in the game. And then here's what we'll do. So we could just put water in here like so, and it would look all right. But let's go the extra mile here, and we'll grab our concrete texture from the terrain painter and just paint the bottom of this so it looks like an actual sort of structure. And then thinking here. I think I'll just actually go 1/3 height. We'll just keep it on the shallower end, because realistically, if hopefully no one would be trying to climb in here, but if somebody were to, we wouldn't want them to be in there too deep. So make it 1/3 height. But before we put the water in there, here's another thing we can do. Let's get a 1/3 height wall, and we can just use a block wall. And it's already colored white. We can do white or gray. I think white will look best though. Oops, that's full height. Up here we'll get 1/3 height, and then we'll just build this up along the edge. In fact, let's do a light blue. That way it almost kind of looks like the edge of the pool. I think that'll work. I think that'll add a nice border to it as well. So we'll go all along the edge here. And just put that wall in. And that way this doesn't look like just a chunk taken out of the ground in some video game. It actually looks like there's intention there. And filling that in with water, you can see that nice blue edge. Really looks nice where the water meets the grass there. But we're going to be consistent here and fill in this edge with the irregular paving as well. That way it looks nice. And you want to be careful. I think we got some irregular paving down there in the pool itself. So we might just want to go back over that with concrete just to be sure we got it. Now, the only issue remaining is we have this pool that's exposed and we don't want people falling into it. So let's name one of our peeps here Brooks. That will allow us to put something right along the edge of this path to keep them from falling in. In fact, naming them that is not required in this case, and I'll show you why. If you want to put your railing on the inside edge of this rectangle, you don't need to use the Brooks cheat, only if you're putting it on the outside edge like that. But we're going to put it on the inside edge, so in this situation you wouldn't need to use that. And let's make it black just so it's nice and dark. I think that'll contrast well and look like almost kind of like a wrought iron fencing. And we'll just put that all along there. Now, when it comes to paths and stuff, I usually like to keep it simple in terms of which fence I choose. But if you look along here, you have all sorts of different options. So like you could go with the old iron fence, but I really don't care for this one just in the general display area because it has the cobwebs. That one is a lot better for spooky areas. Another good one that's not in the default is the safari fence here. If you're content with this sort of look of bamboo fencing, I really like that this one is 3D and it's a relatively simple texture. It compares to the chain link fence here, but that one's flatter. You can see it is not a three-dimensional texture, and it looks a little grimier. So this one I like to use for roller coaster low zones, etc. But we'll just go with the scaffolding fence here. I think the scaffolding fence also looks sort of the best. Like, I think it's comparable to the quick fence here, but again, this one is like just like a metal portable fence in the way it looks, and I don't like the way that it has this little rounded corner there either. So that's my reasoning for choosing the scaffolding fence here. Anyhow, enough about fences. I guess the point I'm just trying to make is be intentional about what you create, but also think about what you want to convey with what you're creating. Don't just leave it at the first thing you see. Anyhow, that is that. So let's come down here. I think maybe we'll go into a time lapse here, and I'm just going to finish out all of these planters out front. So I will see you guys in a moment. everybody. Now that we're done with placing all of these bushes and trees and hedges, which I'm glad you guys are probably glad you didn't have to sit through all that. We're going to move on, but really quick, I'm just going to place a couple small sugar pines right through here. So I placed mediums along most of this, but I got rid of some along here to replace with small, just so that sight line of this sign here would not be disturbed driving into the park. Anyhow, and then I just filled all that out as you saw. And then in these little flat grassy areas here by the little waiting areas for the bus stops, I decided to put topiaries. And I just went with the playing card themed topiaries. So we have clubs, hearts, spades, and diamonds. And bonus points if you know I put them in that order. Anyhow, so the next thing I want to do in this episode, probably one of the last things we'll do, is I want to build a gift shop right along here. So this will sort of be the nice main gift shop for the park. It'll be a nice sort of welcoming building, I guess, to have, in that it'll also allow guests, it'll divert some of the foot traffic, but it won't be like a ride where we'll have lots of people coming in and going out all at once. So I think, well, I don't really think I've talked much in this series about designing buildings, because yeah, I guess this is all we've really designed, maybe a little bit in the first episode. But I think the first thing I'll do is just to satisfy the little itch inside. I'll just put this irregular paving along here. So I'm not sure. I think we'll just kind of start designing our gift shop and see where it goes. I don't know if I want to continue this half timber theme or do something else. But I think the first thing we will do is lay out our gift shop. So let's grab some paths. Let's just use the asphalt path here. And I think, I don't know if we want to do it sort of in the style of Kings Island's main gift shop, where it's kind of like 3 or 4 different storefronts all connected on the inside, and it sort of takes up the entire length of that reflecting pool, or at least part of the length. So that is certainly one option we have. I guess that's where the fun thing about coming up with these. But let's just start like this. So we'll have a couple entrances along here. In fact, we'll need to get rid of that for just a moment. And let's just start with our colored wall set. Let's just use slate walls, just so that way we don't have to think too much about what we're doing here. In fact, you know what? Yeah, that'll work for now. Yes. All right. So we'll get some of our patio doors along here, and this, I guess, it'll be a nice big gift shop, so we'll have plenty of room in there for that. So it's important we'll design the outside of the building first, and I'll show you why. So let's just bring it all the way down here. I don't know if we're going to use all that space on the interior, but the two things I want to do are sort of figure out what our boundaries will be, or how much space we have to design this, and then I also want to figure out how far we can't go. So with this roller coaster here, I want to leave at least a tile of space behind it. And then let's come along the front here just to eyeball sort of how far down we want to go. And I think maybe going all the way to the end of this would work. But here's one thing, one of my big tips from the last series, and I've even talked about it already in this series, and I'm just now remembering it, so I'm going to roll with it. We're going to pretend like I knew about this all along. But when you can always build a building right up against the path, and I think it can work. Or you can leave it one tile recessed from the path. That way you can have, as I've said before, a natural barrier. So some trees and plants along this edge. And given that this is sort of a garden themed park, I think I want to go with having that natural barrier. And then, yes. Let's build along the outside edge here for this back wall. And the reason I want to do that is so that way I can place gift shops along here, actual shops in game that the pedestrians or the guests, the peeps, sorry, gotta find the right word there, can use. And yeah, we'll figure out how far down that goes. Gee whiz, I cannot talk today. And again, in leaving one tile all along here, I'm just going to cut it off along this wall, or along this edge. And then we'll have another doorway right there. And let's see, let's go like this. So I'll have doors sort of on either end here, and we'll have 3 entrances. I don't think we're going to include anything along this back wall. Well, let's see. Yeah, you know what? Why not? We can sort of have, maybe we can have like this end be sort of the convenience store. So this is where they'll have like the sunblock and the like sunglasses and umbrellas can be purchased along here. Maybe along this wall they can get t-shirts or something. So at the end of the day, like foot traffic within your RCT park is not the most vital consideration in the world, considering it is just a game. But I do try and be somewhat considerate of it in terms of designing buildings or those sorts of things. So what you may lack in path space here, we regain in entrances and exits. And I know I said I think I wanted to have 3, but actually I want to have a 4th one here because I want this facade to look nice. Another benefit to having a natural barrier here when you're using M. Brooks is your buildings can take up less space. So now I can bring a path along this edge of the building, and with M. Brooks I can have it along the same edge as those walls. Whereas if we were 1 tile ahead, the path would still have to be recessed by 1 tile. That's not mandatory technically speaking, but if it was along here, then guests could enter and exit through any point, and it would look like they're walking through the walls or the windows. Of course, it's kind of going to look that way anyhow, as if they're walking through the patio doors, but that's just a compromise. At least they're walking in and out where there will be a doorway. And I forgot, before I put these in there, let's place our doorways. So we'll come up here, colored wall set, and go down to our patio doors. And you know, the colors and even sort of the building palette of blocks, I guess, is all subject to change here. And then one more thing I want to do, I want to get rid of that corner there and replace that with the large windows. So this can sort of be like a display case or something. And let's just put in some walls here. And in fact, let's go, we can come along here and sort of find something to put in there. Clock, a little too big. Diving suit, something like that. Maybe let's try and find something diagonal if we can. I don't know. We'll come up with something to put in there. I don't know what all there is. We could put a snail in there. I guess not with the walls. Anyhow, something to consider. And then let's add more paths along this edge here. Anyhow, let's come back to our colored walls and put in some more windows. I think along this edge we can do another corner display. And then along this edge, let's just put in some smaller windows. Let's do, where is it? So you could do the slate wall with 2 small windows, but I think I just want to do slate wall with window, with the singular window there. I think that'll look just fine, and not too overcrowded, but it's however you want to do it. And then I think that ought to do. So next thing we want to do, just to make our gift shop feel a little bigger on the inside, is let's bring everything up by 2 tiles, and this will also allow us to create a much larger facade, which I think will work better. So we'll just do that and bring this all along there, like so. So one thing you may notice right in here, really on these corners, I filled these in. Part of the reason I did that is so that way we can have sort of a border along here where our shops are going to be, just so that way like the guests theoretically wouldn't be able to get back there behind the counter. but also it accounts for the fact that your shop will need inventory space. Um, so yeah, having that sort of fictional inventory space, it just adds to the realism if you're going for that. So let's bring this along here, like so. And if you are sort of considering stuff like inventory space as well, one thing I would recommend is just making sure you add doorways, so it looks like those behind the scenes areas are accessible. But another thing along here we could do, you could add like a garage door on the back or something along those lines. And I'll show you how to do that in just a minute so we can sort of account for our stockroom space. In fact, what I think I'm going to do is maybe just make this area our fictional stockroom. So let's see. Yeah, we can still bring this up along here and then do that. That way, yeah. You'll see what I'm getting at here in a moment. Anyhow, and then we can fill this little spot in with our path. So with that in mind, let's move on here. What next? So yeah, let's place our stalls. We don't have to figure out what we want them to be just yet. I think I'll have like my sort of sunscreen and umbrella place as its own gift shop somewhere else. But it looks like we have 4 spots along here that we can add souvenirs and other sorts of gifts and what have you. So let's just get 4 custom stalls, and I almost always use the custom stalls because they basically work for any build, as long as you recolor them properly, of course, but you don't have to worry about how much space they take up. It does take a little extra effort because you have to put in manually what kind of stall you want it to be, but I think it is worth it in the long run. So now we have sort of our interior space filled out for our gift shop. One other thing I want to do here is just add some benches. So because these aren't actually functional, just in terms of, there's not like shelving or anything in here where they're perusing. I like to add something for the guests. So I'll add some benches along here. And we can even do some along the windows here. And I don't know why I went with the marble benches. That's just what I decided to click on. Normally in the game I use wooden benches around the place because they have the seat back, but I think marble is just fine in here. And then let's add a couple of trash bins by each of the exits. Like so. And then a couple along here. Let's do one there, and then we'll do one on this side. Now let's go back to our colored wall set and grab some doors. So we'll start here. And let's just make the color of the door dark so it's a little more blending in. So we'll add a door here so the display can be accessed if they want to change out what's in there. Then we'll add a door. Let's do one here, so that way the workers can get from one side to the other. And then let's give the workers an emergency exit right here as well. Then finally, we'll do a door over here to the stockroom. So let's get rid of this bench and place a door there. Now, the last thing we want, and we'll do it right here by our, whatchamacallit, our little access road here, is we'll put a garage door. So how you can do a garage door, there are a couple ways you can go about it, but we will get our western walls, and we can get a gray full height wall here and place it along there. But if you're gonna do that, what I like to make sure I do, and I don't like to place garage door right up against the corner here because it needs to have a little bit of a border. Sometimes you kind of just have to compromise, and I think we can. I'll show you how I'm gonna do that. Yeah, give me just a moment here. Let's make this entire stock room nice and large. This is the front of the park, so they are going to need quite a bit of inventory. Granted, some of the stock rooms I've seen at the places I've worked, they really make do with the most minimal amount of space possible. It's actually kind of impressive. But since we're tucked away right here, I don't mind ditching the natural barrier. And then we'll come along here, and instead of placing along this inside edge our walls, what we're going to do is come along the outside edge here. And the reason I do that is so that way this garage door, which is just our western wall piece, will be recessed into the wall, and it will add depth and make it look much more realistic. And then we'll find another one of our doors here just to place next to it. The only issue then that this creates is we have a little divot here in the corner, but since we're no longer placing any stalls along this edge, we can bring this in one into that inside edge. So let's get rid of this wall here and then just build this up along the inside edge, just like so. So I try to keep walls along the same edge, but you'll notice right along here, this wall inside of the building is not on that edge. Because it's kind of separated here by a wall, I don't really mind. You're not going to notice it. So it's no big deal in that case, if you're kind of nitpicky about stuff like that, the way I typically am. But if not, then you have nothing to worry about. But already, look at that. We have our exit here and our garage door. Let's just come over to our terrain paint really quick and bring up the edge like so. So that gives space for like a delivery truck to come over here and unload boxes into this room. And let's add a little access path along the back side here as well. Okay, now we have some different options for our roof, and I think, you know, there's a bunch of ways we can do this, but I think what I want to do is sort of make this look like two different buildings on the facade. So this stock room will kind of appear like a different building. So, and I want to continue our half timber theme over here. So let's get our Caribbean adventure walls, and we'll find the full height wall with base right here, and let's replace this edge with that just along here. And in fact, where that corner is kind of clipping through, we can also switch that out just for continuity. And then what we can do, let's get rid of this top wall. So I know I'm getting rid of everything I just placed, but sometimes you have to kind of build out the general shape of something first, just to get a feel for it. Now normally what I would say is let's find our porch here like we did with our main entrance and place that along here. But what I want to do to achieve that wooden border is just use a 1/3 height wall. And the reason I'm going to do that is because it will, if I can get the right colors here, that way it'll allow this interior space of the stock room to still be fully open, and we won't have to worry about having a ceiling right in the middle of all that. Yeah, and along this back side, we don't need to worry. We're worried about it right on this edge just because of that corner, but that's sort of where the facade is going to end anyway. So yeah, and then we'll come up here with, go back to our colored wall set and just get another set of slate walls. And I'm just going to do a singular slate wall right here, but let's do some windows. And let's follow the order we have over here. So we're going to use our scaffolding piece on that edge, and then our double windows. So let's find our double window right there. And we'll build up with that along this edge. And let's make sure the colors are correct as well. So we want a wooden looking frame like so. And then we can just use another full height slate wall on this back side, since no one's really going to be looking back there. And then what we can do just to add a little texture is we'll come back to our wood. In fact, let's replace the wood on the inside edge here just with more slate wall, just to be a little on the realistic side on how it will look on the inside. Yep. And then we'll do it on the outside edge, our 1/3 height wooden wall. That way it adds a little texture like it does on the other building. So we'll build that up here. And here's one of those cases where that little divot on the corner is kind of unavoidable. Nothing you can really do about that, but that's okay. And what we can even do, well, yeah, I guess one thing I'm trying to work on for this series is just taking into consideration the fact that, you know, these are not functional buildings. So as much as I want to make them realistic on the interior, realizing that it's more efficient for the park and for the game to not have to worry about how the insides look. So I'm not going to worry too much about the inside here. And the whole reason I say that is I'm not going to like place colored walls along the inside there to make it look any better. It's an urge I have to fill that in and to make that look good, but I realized at the end of the day, if you watched my first series of Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, that's how we ended up losing our park. So in order to avoid that, I'm going to fight the urge to make fully fledged interiors. But the exteriors are fair game. So let's finish this building off here with a 1/3 height slate wall along this back edge, like so. And then let's get our scaffolding, if I can find it here, and put it all along the outside here. Oops, gotta be careful with that. Oops, like so. And yeah, we don't need to worry about it on that back edge. But yeah, that is that. And if you can either build up a roof right away or build up a second story, and I think let's just put a roof on it for now, and if we want to come back later and make it taller, we can. But one of my reasonings for not building up a second story is I still want this roller coaster to be nice and visible and look really tall behind it. So we'll just build up our roof right here, right along here. So you can kind of do this a number of ways as well. What I think I'm going to do is build up our roof just sort of as a facade. So from the front end, they'll see the roof as they would expect it to look. And then from the back side, it'll just be a normal flat kind of roof situation. So I'll show you what I mean here in just a second. But we're just going to put in our corners real quick. And then we can come along here to our office walls. And we'll just grab our flat office roof. And yeah, we'll leave it gray colored. And we'll build that all along here, like so. Just along the back there. And then along the back of this one as well. Just make sure we're at the right height. And then one thing I typically do, it's been a little while since I've done this, so I'm a little rusty here, but I will just grab the office roof edge here and put that along any edges, just so there's a little lip there. And the office wall or the office roof edge intersects with just about anything, so you can intersect them at the corners there, because there's no proper corner piece. But yeah, you can use that to your advantage. I think the only thing it doesn't intersect with are paths. But yeah, and we'll probably find some ways. For instance, I'll show you one thing real quick. If you want to do this in your park, I'm not going to do it in mine, but if you color it brown, oops, maybe. If I can find where it goes, goodness. Okay. And then I choose the wrong color, of course. If you color this brown, you can place it underneath like trees and shrubs and make it look like dirt or mulch, like even darker and more pronounced. I've done that in parks before. In fact, if I remember, I'll throw like a screenshot or something up on the screen of a park where I did that, basically for every planter. But it's a lot of work, and I just don't think it's entirely necessary in the end. I think planters look just fine without it, so I don't typically worry about that after the one time I did it. But yeah, that is our gift shop. So now we can put our paths leading into it. And then we will put other things, planters around the edges. And another thing is this flat roof, or this flat wall along here. It I don't know how to put it, but it looks empty, kind of barren. So we can maybe figure something else out to do with that as well, just to make it look a little nicer. But let's go ahead and use our irregular paving terrain paint right along here, like so. And then let's get started with some planters. So, oh yeah, gotta select everything. In fact, yeah, I see how I want to do this. So we'll go along there like so, maybe. Well, I'm thinking if we have these nice corner displays, why don't we just bring the paths right up to this edge? And because there's no path right inside of that corner, we don't have to worry about them being able to walk through there. So let's do that and fill it out that way. I think that looks nice. And then we'll have our planter right along this edge. Let's see here. Just like that. And then I don't know how I'm going to do this area yet, but I will start a planter right along here. And then make sure we get one along here. And finally, we can also fill these little areas out as well, like so. I think what I'm going to do is get rid of these flower beds here, and we're going to work in a fence over here. So a little ADHD moment, but that's okay. So we'll go to our fences, and I always like to use the pine wood fence for any sort of like just border fencing or construction fencing. But let's build this up right along this edge. And then theoretically, if you have a fence here, there'd probably be a spot where they can get behind the scenes here to access the behind the building. So let's build up a little thing along there. And then just for the sake of our garden, let's finish off this planter on this side. So, how do I want to do this? Yeah, let's go like so. Maybe. I got to think about it. Let's put in the flowers first. And then let's put in a fence instead. Just because we don't really have the hedges along that back side anyhow. And yeah, just to mask off this behind the scenes area, let's just put a fence all the way up along here. Like so. And I think that should be fine. I think that'll be just fine. In fact, maybe from inside, we don't even need it all along here. Okay. Decisions. Sometimes you'll find that you really do just have complete freedom to make whatever decision you want. And you really do at any point in time in this game. But sometimes when you feel like you have to abide by a certain rule or be consistent, you'll find you have a little more freedom than you think. So those moments, sometimes they can be fun and sometimes they can be kind of annoying. But anyway, we'll just fill out these planters here. And we'll do a tree right in that one just to sort of fill out that space. And here's another spot where we can decide how we want. So we have an even number of tiles here. So I think what I want to do is do 2 bushes in the middle. Those are actually blocking our windows. Maybe let's do a flower bed here instead. Let's get our large flower bed along there. And where's our medium sugar pine? Let's put that right in here. And then the last thing we'll do is a little bit of terrain painting on this edge. You get our irregular paving. Make sure that's all nice and complete along here. And let's make sure we get it along these corners where we put that path in as well. And then finally, we just got to get our whatchamahoots in there, our hedges. Let's see here. Small hedge. I like so. And what the heck? Let's put in something along here. Let's do another medium sugar pine, just to sort of have one on either end of this front building. And before we go, because I think I'm going to end the episode here in just a moment, I want to fill this out a little further, this upper wall. So let's just get some more windows in there. And I think, where are they? Yeah, we'll have to recolor our wall as well, but whatever. No big deal. And let's go up here with the single windows. And maybe we'll do doubles below them. Or maybe we could even, let's do this. Let's get crazy with it. Where is, we'll come to our glass walls instead. Let's get a full height glass wall in here. We can still make the trim brown, not the window. We definitely don't want brown windows. That would not look super great. And let's try that. You know, I'm not a big fan of the brown trim though. Let's go all black with it. And we can make the window white for consistency with the other windows. There, I think that looks kind of nice. Although I want to leave a little space between the top of this window and the lower edge of that roof. So let's use a 2/3 height glass wall here. And let's do a 1/3 height slate wall along that edge. Like so. And then let's look at it from back here. I think that looks decent enough maybe. Let's go like this though. Let's get our little wall set. 1 second. I have to think about this. Okay, let's delete this. This on the corner. Let's go get our office walls, our office roof. Like so. We'll paint it gray. Gray. And I realize the ones on top are technically painted white. So I just gotta be careful of that. Paint it gray here. Alright, now let's go to our western walls. And let's get our porch pillar corner. Just bring it up like so. Yeah, we can leave it brown. And then another one here. And then let's find our porch railing. Right along here. On the outside edges. I don't think it'll work on the inside edges. Oh, wait. That was on the inside edges. Normally those are kind of finicky with the pillars, but I think because we used the corner, it was just fine. So now we have a little balcony along here. And finally, just to complete this fake balcony, we'll add some fake doors on, well, maybe. Actually, maybe not. Not necessary. Anyhow, what I was thinking is I'd add a fake door along there, but I realized that the back wall is already on the inside edge, so it's not going to work without having this nice big door on the inside. Actually, you know what? We can make it work, and I'll show you how real quick. Let's go like this. We'll get another door here from our slate walls. Where is it? Make sure it's painted black. And then on this inside wall, we can have our fake door. Let's get the brown trim though. Oops. Black door, brown trim. And then because we're on the inside edge in here of this path, then we can just do an empty wall up there. So let's do one more over on this side. And then make it black again for the interior. In fact, what we can even do is just get rid of the door on the inside altogether, since we'll have that edge now. And there we go. And then let's get our blank wall here. And I'll try and zoom out a little bit. Just lift that up to cover up this door from the inside. And we'll do it once more over on this side. And that is that. And if we wanted, I think, let's even do this. Let's get another window. Another single window. Get it brown, and then we'll put it up there on that edge. Just to get a little more light in there, and just to make it look a little bit nicer. And with the windows, you don't really have to worry about covering it up from the other side either. Since it is just it can just work like a normal window. But there, that sort of breaks up the texture here a little bit, adds a little more character to the outside. And I am content with this, I think. So many options, you know? Okay, a couple more things I want to do while we are here. Let's grab our double windows and place them above each of the doorways. Okay. And then I'm going to be content with that for now. But if you guys have any feedback, let me know in the comments. Before I go, I'm just going to repaint these roofs to be gray instead of white, just so they look a little bit better. Just be careful not to paint the actual roof pieces themselves. For the corners, if you're doing this technique, just make sure you get the lip of each corner. That way you get both pieces. Just clicking on that flat roof isn't going to do anything to help you out. Oh, and one final thing, just for realism's sake, is we'll go to our office walls, get our air conditioner unit. I just like to make everything gray there. I think that makes the colors pop the best. And we'll put a couple of these in here. Let's do one over here and one up above our stock room. Okay. Now, the stalls, the types have not been determined yet, so they're not selling anything right now. No big deal. I'll figure that out off camera. Anyhow, this is our gift shop. If you enjoyed today's episode, leave a comment suggesting a name for our gift shop. Maybe something that sort of incorporates Germanator, gardens, or this or that. Think in terms of like Point Plaza at Cedar Point. That's sort of the main part gift shop at the very front. Something along those lines. Sort of that is all encompassing, or just whatever name sounds good to you. And I will consider those for our next episode. And I already know what I think I'll name it if nobody picks anything. Anyhow, I will see you guys in the next episode. A good bye.